In Seoul, Korea, a man is in an apartment. He walks over to the coffee table in the living room to pick up a newspaper that contains news about the confirmation of tax evasion. A few seconds after he sits down on the couch and takes a sip from his drink, 3 masked men open the door and enter the living room asking him who he is. While taking their masks off, they scatter across the apartment, and one of them holding a bag comes over to the man on the couch and crouches beside him. He then starts opening the bag in front of him, calling him Mr. Jang Min-ki. Mr. Jang snatches his hand from his captor in refusal, but the other invader puts a knife to his neck, and Mr. Jang cooperates. The man with the tools measures his blood pressure, and after he is done, he injects Mr. Jang with some kind of medication. The others set the table up with drugs, staging a scenario that portrays a drug overdose scene. After taking the injection, Mr. Jing partially passes out on the couch, and as the invaders start preparing to leave, a woman appears from the other side of the apartment talking on the phone and unsuspecting of what is going on. Surprised by her presence, they realize that they have no choice but to knock her out and leave the place. Upon returning to their hideout in a site that resembles a warehouse, they cover up the van with a large dark sheet, and they leave, closing the big gates behind them. Later on at the apartment, investigators flood the scene where 2 bodies lay dead on the sofa. Among many other inmates, a prisoner is transported to a correctional facility, and on his way in, he stirs up a bit of a fight with those that were already there. The older inmates capture him and torture him, but he forcefully buys his ticket to the warden's office and asks to be put in another cell. Due to his arrogant behavior, they set him up to be beaten up and tortured by the gang. He is taken to an abandoned place where their leader tries to convince him to work together since the prison is dangerous. He was forcefully persuaded to comply as they threatened to cut off his hand if he didn't. He was then sent to detention for 20 days due to the fights he was involved in, where he learned about the gang leader named Jung Ik-ho, who was thought to have many rumors of cruelty in his lifetime. After detention, the inmate won a prison fight and earned his request to join the most protected cell in the prison. In his fancy prison cell, Ik-ho receives a call from Dr. Kim. The next day, at the food table, the warden is paid for the Woo Myung case by Dr. Kim. He tells the warden to sell his stocks, which he has in Goldwing, and then gives him a package to deliver to Yongjong Ik-ho. Inside the prison, the new inmate learns that his cellmates are educated professionals who were there following ethical misconduct regarding their professions. After taking the package from the warden, Ik-ho sits with his crew to examine the contents. It was a blueprint of the entire facility where they were being held. Together they plan an escape that involves 4 people for execution. Inside a huge office, a man sits with his dinner reading the papers. A huge blast explodes on the wall, and 3 masked men enter through the hole. They locate a safe behind a well hidden in the wall and open it. After loading the contents into a bag, they leave and round up at the van. As they were going back out, the driver tried to steal the bag, and instantly failing to grab it, he ran onto the street and disappeared. While reporting this news to the warden, the phone rings, and they are notified that the head of the prison service is coming for inspection. While on inspection, he crosses paths with Jung Ik-ho and recognizes him. They get into an intense face-off, which was interrupted by the new inmate, and he was sent to detention again. The head of prison services then leaves, telling them to clean the mess. Upon breaking him off with the head of the prison, Ik-ho wanted to reward the new inmate and took him out of the prison for a meal. In a small talk, young Ik-ho tells the inmate that he has heard of his name to be the Grim Reaper. He offers him a deal worth $100,000, which is to find a person named Hak-kyu. In a flashback, the Grim Reaper is at the police station as Lieutenant Song. He remembers seeing his brother, who came to ask for a favor, which he refused. Back to the manhunt, they set out together, led by the Grim Reaper's instincts. They sit on a stakeout just outside a city where Hak-kyu's mistress was said to live. When they noticed suspicious-looking people, they went out to meet them and got into a fight. This led to finding Hak-kyu, and Ik-ho punished him by making him hang on the ceiling on his own. With this, the Grim Reaper received his payment, and they returned to the prison grounds. There in the office, the Grim Reaper looks for an item and finds a recording of Mr. Warren being instructed to kill him. the Grim Reaper, and the words of his brother echo in his mind. As the warden returns, he claims to be cleaning and leaves by the cover of the guard, which he bribed. The next day, Dr. Kim meets the Grim Reaper in the dining hall, introduced by Jung Ik-ho. Dr. Kim claims that they need someone from the cops, referring to Lee Tin-song's past career. Just outside the dining hall, inmates knocked out the watch at the gate and got into the hall with wooden bars in their hands. As the fight started, Ik-ho grabbed one of the offenders and started gouging out his eye, and the rest stood back. Seeing that they backed off, the gang leader stopped his torture and moved away, which was when one of them pulled out a knife from his belt and stabbed Jung Ik-ho in the back. As he falls to the ground, the Reaper, who was secretly watching from the beginning, comes to his rescue. After he had beaten up the whole crew of offenders, he was then tackled by the security guards who came for pacification. Lying on the ground, he was taken back in memory to the time when he saw his brother dead while he was still a lieutenant. He quickly learned that his brother's death was not an accident. He wakes up in a room with Jung Ik-ho. Jung Ik-ho goes out to meet a guard, and the Reaper is taken back in memory, remembering the time when his boss had learned about the many cases relating to the prison he's in now, and that it needed to be solved. On the prison grounds, the other gang leader was being taken out of the prison to be transported. Halfway on the journey, the bus that carried him and two guards stopped, and they stepped down for a break. It was at this time that another car came at high speed, hit the prisoner, and threw him across the road. Then he put him in the trunk and took him away. Back at the prison, Ik-ho confronts his men, asking them who betrayed him, and after a long stare-down, Mr. Ma confesses. Jung Ik-ho made Song cut Mr. Ma's hand for his betrayal. Out in the watchtower, Ik-ho stands with Song and tells him how he perceives the world is run. By taking the leader, then the minions will fall. Out in the field, the head of prison service, while practicing shooting, interrogates the warden about his relationship with Jung Ik-ho. Song meets his superior in a warehouse on the prison grounds, a meeting set by one of the guards he bribed. He explains all that he learned about the prison, that Ik-ho is the mastermind behind all crimes that are being committed, and that he uses the warden to send messages in and out of the prison. He then tells him that he has decided to stay behind and finish the job. He hands him the tape that he found in the warden's office. In his office, the warden talks to Jung Ik-ho, offering him the chance to run away by giving him a letter of approval of parole, since the shady life they're leading there has been known by their superiors. But Ik-ho refuses and tears down the paper into pieces. Right under Jung Ik-ho's nose, Song is gathering information regarding the structure, and by now he has figured out that Dr. Kim is in charge of planning, Hwang in operations, and so if they were seen together, that signifies something big is coming up. While Song is out talking on the phone, Ik-ho sneaks on him from behind, and when he turns, he checks on the phone to know who he is calling. On the other end was a voice that called him son. So Jung Ik-ho hung up and they left the place, but Sun has already transmitted the whereabouts of the mastermind Ik-ho. But when they reached the site, the people they found were only put there on purpose. And Jung Ik-ho changed the plan and destination at the last minute. As he signals his people, they bring out a bag and open it to reveal the head of prison services emerging, his mouth taped shut. He tells the head that he'd be promoting the warden to head of prison services and that Ik-ho would be in control of everything. He then put him into a farming machinery which grinded him into pieces. On the other side, Song's superior is on the phone with his commander, telling him to withdraw because it has now gotten out of control. Song and Jung Ik-ho are sitting at Sungwon prison and talking as he shows Song-yu pictures and tells him that there could be someone among them ratting them out and that he can't trust anyone. He calls Mo and confirms that Mr. Jong doesn't know Yu-gun and gives out orders to get a man killed. Song tells him to stop getting the man killed, but he asks why he dragged him into this and puts the phone on speaker. Song gets angry and tries to attack him, but is stopped by Jung Ik-ho's guards. Warden Kang is angry at the guard asking about Bae before he brings out his gun. Jung Ik-ho holds Song hostage and tells him that he's the one who killed his brother. As he is speaking, Warden Kang shows up and tells him to kill Song, Young Ik-ho shoots the warden and decides to make it look like Song killed him before he killed himself. Song gets off from where they're trying to hang him and escapes after setting the place on fire, making an explosion. He starts to shoot at Young Ik-ho from the tower, and soon they start a fight as everyone is watching. As Song Yugun is about to kill Jung Ik-ho, Chief Bae calls out for him and tells him to stop. While he is distracted, Young Ik-ho stabs him. But before he can kill him, he gets shot from a distance. Song Yugun is taken, and he learns that Dr. Kim is arrested and Huang's whereabouts will be confirmed soon. In the meantime, prisoners and officers have testified he actively participated in various crimes, but he didn't say anything to defend himself.